Hi, Carol here from Downsizing to Freedom with Carol. Um, just over a year ago when I started this channel, I really had wanted to do a little video about some of the financial issues I had that were affecting my downsizing plans. I'd wanted to be able to present it as, here's the problem, here's the solution, and have it all tied up in a nice little bow for you. But anyway, that didn't happen. I have to say right up front, I am not a financial advisor or an accountant. I can only share my personal experiences. So please go and get advice from a certified financial advisor or accountant or someone you trust, because everybody's situation is different. And where you live, the rules are different too. So anyway, if this is something that interests you, please keep watching, and I'll see you at the end. Five years ago, I co-signed for one of my son's mortgage. I was still working full-time at the time. I had no debt other than my mortgages and my car loan, which was at 0% financing. And I still thought back then that this would be my forever home and I would never want to move, never need to refinance or buy any other real estate. Fast forward a couple of years, and I had to use my savings to do an unexpected roof repair. I wasn't expecting it. The roof had been done only 7 or 8 years before that, but there was a windstorm and some shingles got blown off. Where they went, I don't know. But anyway, the previous owner did not leave extra shingles, and I couldn't find any to match. They weren't a great quality shingle. They were only like the 3-tab ones anyway. But anyway, if roofers know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so yeah, I could have just fixed it with any old shingles that stuck out like a sore thumb, but I wanted it to look good too. So I had to dip into my savings and get that done. Then I had a long-time tenant move out of my triplex, and I had to borrow $12,000 to do repairs and get it habitable for the next tenant. Now, unfortunately, the elderly couple that were in there could not take proper care of it. And you may not think it's that important to clean, but here is a prime example. Yeah, just go watch a couple of old episodes of Hoarders, and you will see there's situations where the house may be condemned or need extensive renovations and repairs due to damage from water, mold, rot, or pest infestation. So after a certain point, in extreme cases, lack of cleaning is not just a health and safety issue. Finally, just over a year ago, another long-term tenant finally moved out, and I was able to get some electrical work done and some insulation blown in. And well, he wasn't the greatest at cleaning either, and then he had a stroke, so that just made the situation worse. But the whole place needed a major overhaul to get it habitable for the next tenant too. So, by this time, prices had gone up a lot for supplies. Even my contractor's wage has almost doubled in 5 years. And he's excellent. He probably was undercharging before. But, if you got a good contractor, you better keep him, if anybody's had a house and tried to get any tradesmen in, you know what I'm talking about. Number one, he showed up. 2, he knows what he's doing. He does an excellent job. He doesn't overcharge. He provides receipts for everything that he does. I can't say enough about him. He's wonderful. But all this ended up costing me another $28,000 that I had to put on my line of credit. Now, the insulation and the electrical That was a capital cost. It's considered a capital cost because it's part of the main part of the house that you do not have to do every time a tenant moves out, like the painting and the refreshing of whatever they've wrecked. But that means only a small percentage of that is tax deductible every year. So yeah, that's money out of my pocket for nothing, basically. For those of you who are unaware of Canada's tax system, I'll just say that it's very complicated, and some of the rules make no sense whatsoever. And then they change the rules all the time so that they can steal more money from you. That's basically the way it is. That leads me to the next issue. Municipal laws changed for B&Bs and short-term rentals, and those are not the same thing, in case you didn't know, in my town. Initially, I just operated it as a short-term rental when I was still working full-time, but then I turned it into a real B&B. And I liked meeting people. I didn't mind the cleaning. I made a little bit of money to help pay the bills. Didn't make a ton of money, but I made a little bit. And that was fine for a while. And then I started feeling trapped because I could never go anywhere when the weather was good because I was dependent on the money, on the business. And then with the tax grabbing changes that added insult to injury, I just decided I'd had enough. Now, if you ever watched my introduction video where I explained, why I started this downsizing process and I wanted to get rid of 95% of my stuff, then you may already know that besides deciding I didn't want to do the B&B anymore, the snow here was that put me over the edge. I realized that I was not going to be here forever and I needed to downsize. I may have mentioned in a previous video also that one of the original reasons I bought this place was so that my mom would have a place to come and live with me and have a place of her own because she's very independent. The house came with some tenants that were paying below market value rent at the time, but they were very nice people. And then when my mom did come after 5 years, she was only with me for less than a year. And then my other tenants moved out as well, and that's when I started the B&B. Rental laws are very different from province to province and country to country, so I can't speak about other areas. Here in Ontario, it has become very unattractive to become a landlord. If you have good tenants that pay their rent and take care of the property, it can be a good way to help pay your bills and save for your retirement. If not, it can become a legal nightmare. And that's all I'm going to say about that. In relation to my downsizing plans, if I was to rent to a regular long-term tenant and then sell the house and the buyer didn't want them to come with the house because they wanted it for their own purposes, I would have to give them 60 days notice and pay them a month's rent. Now, that may not be a big deal if there were decent tenants and they left when they were supposed to. But if they decided they were going to refuse and be a-holes and then not pay their rent, it would be a legal nightmare and financially disastrous for me. And I thought, yeah, I don't want to go through that. I'll just not rent it until it's ready to go. And then whoever buys it, they can do whatever they want with the property. One thing I really like about not having tenants in my own home is I don't have to worry about the noise level. If my grandkids come over and they're running around and yelling or laughing too loud, no big deal. I don't have to worry about keeping the volume down on the TV or walking softly across the floor. It's so much less stressful. Even when I had guests, I had to be very quiet up here because depending on where you are in the house, you can hear the other people and they can hear you. Some parts are soundproof and other parts not so much. And also, if there was a plumbing emergency in one of the apartments and I need to get a plumber, I don't have to get it done right away. If it's on the weekend when they charge double, I can wait till the next week. Chances of that happening when the units are empty are not very, very likely anyway. But that's also another bonus of not having to worry about tenants. And if I don't feel like doing all the snow in the back right away, that's fine, you know. Although when I did have long-term tenants, they took care of their own snow because I was also still working full-time and struggling to get out the door myself when it was like that. And also, if I have friends or family coming from out of town, I've got space for them to stay. So now I'll come back to my son's mortgage and how that all ties in with everything. When I added my extra debt for the apartments and the unexpected house repairs, I tried to refinance my mortgage so that I could, end up with a much smaller monthly payment by accessing some of the equity. Now, I have a lot of equity because I have owned my properties for a long time and I have paid down extra on my home. And also, as you know, housing has become extremely overinflated since the pandemic. And so everything is worth an insane amount more than it used to, even 5 years ago. But because my son's mortgage debt was tied to my credit, that alone made me ineligible to borrow any more money for anything. Now, you may ask, why not just take money out of investments that aren't locked in to pay off the debt? Well, there may be tax consequences or other fees that make it not feasible to do so. And also, if there is a downturn in the stock market, you may not want to incur a loss by withdrawing money then. Last year, I found out about a new kind of mortgage where they look at your net worth, all your investments and savings and property equity. And it's geared mainly towards people that are retired, I think. Here's the catch, though. They won't accept rental income, and I don't get a pension yet. So I have a great credit rating. I have lots of equity. I pay my bills on time. They don't care about that. None of that matters. And now some banks will lend you money with using half of your rental income. But my rental income wouldn't be enough to get the amount that I want. So there's that. I was advised to get a part-time job, at least temporarily, for that paid at least $20 an hour. Easier said than done. I did actually get a part-time job this past fall, but I was making less than that. If you are getting a big enough pension, you may be able to borrow some money. But what they don't tell you when you retire is that unless it doesn't matter if you've got hundreds of thousands or millions in equity, if you don't have a J.O.B, forget it. You will not be getting any significant loans from anybody. So where do things sit with me now? Well, I'm happy to say my son finally got me off his mortgage when he refinanced. And I have not tried to refinance yet. I am going to try and get my taxes done first and see where things sit with that and what my accountant advises me to do. I'm thinking about taking some of my RSPs and turning them into RIFs, so I have a little bit of an income every month, which will also kind of ease my stress a little bit, which will also help with my health issues, which I've mentioned in a previous video as well. So yeah, I'm things are looking up finally, I think. Well, fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. So that's where I'm at as far as the big picture goes. Finally, if you watched my first video of the year, you know that I am doing the no spend, low spend challenge for the month of January. I've had to live very frugally for the last few years, but I am stepping it up for the month of January. One of the things I wanted to do was to use up food I have and try not to spend more than $100 on groceries. And unfortunately, I've already spent over $90 and we're only halfway through the month. It's insane, the prices of food, isn't it? But, like all I bought basically are fresh fruits and vegetables and a few sale items. So I don't know if I'm going to make it or not till the end of the month, but we'll see. I'll let you know in a future video how that goes. If you've stayed to the end here, I thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, comment below, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you. See you in the next one.